You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series and syndicating for the A-List Online. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith. On this particular instalment of the show, you will listen to an interview between myself and two of the members from a German outfit called Nailed to Obscurity. The reason for the conversation is to promote Nailed to Obscurity's brand new album. I believe it's being released in 2019. It's called Black Frost. Let's have a listen to what the fellas have to say. Here we go.
Hi, Andrew. This is Raimund from Nailed to Obscurity. Hi.
How's things been going for you? They must be going pretty well. You've been having lots of conversations.
Yeah, definitely. It did. We just had an interview and we took a little more time because we were maybe a little chattery, but yeah, a little chatty, but yeah. I think I will drop Ole right in, our guitar player. He will also be part of this interview.
No worries.
If that's okay for you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, please go for it. No worries at all.
So let's start this.
Hello.
I can hear you. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Well, very good. Yeah, very good. I'm sitting in a pretty bloody cold room here at the moment at uni. I've got to tell you, it must be about, you'll laugh at this being from Germany, but we're not used to cold weather in Australia, as you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It must be about 15 degrees in here at the moment, which is Celsius, obviously, not Fahrenheit. But yeah, I've been in here for a couple of hours because I'm 40, right? So I'm old. I'm a mature age student, but I've decided to come back to uni. And yeah, you find all sorts of weird nooks and crannies around the place in order to facilitate the interviews because I do a lot of this stuff. I enjoy doing it, but you've just got to take your moments and chances when they can. And in this case, it's in a room that's 15 degrees Celsius.
I can imagine.
Yeah. How's the interviews with the Australian media contingent been treating you? Have they been treating you well?
Yes. So far, I mean, I think yesterday we had our first Australian interview ever. If I remember correctly, I'm not sure if we had Australian interviews for the last album, but I don't.
No, we haven't had them.
Okay, so then we had the first ones yesterday, and all of them were really great. So everyone seems to be really nice over there.
Well, it's a bloody good album you guys have got here. So the album is called Black Frost, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, lads, correct me if I'm wrong, it'll be released early next year in 2019. And to my ears, okay, so I'm an old school metal fan. I listened to a lot of heavy metal through my life. So here's what I heard. Now feel free to correct me again if I'm wrong here, if you've got another view on the sounds that you're creating here. But I'm hearing a bit of an influence from Opeth, Dissection, Amorphous, and Immortal. So what are your thoughts?
Actually, I think Opeth is definitely one of our influences. It's at least one of my favorite bands, or used to be. I'm not into the new stuff anymore. And I think everybody in the band really likes Opeth, so that's obviously a big influence. Even though we try not to sound like them, like not exactly like them, because that was too obvious to just copy their style.
Yep, for sure.
All the other bands are great, but I wouldn't say that Dissection and Immortal are big influences. We all know them and we listen to them, even though some of us don't really,
Yeah, it's hard, you know, because I host a podcast series, so I can't play the music on the podcast series. So I've got quite a listenership in North America who will be being introduced to you guys for the first time. So I always try to give people who are listening to the interview, always try to give them some point of reference so they understand the sort of music you're creating. Yeah. That's the only reason I do that. I think you've got your own thing going on, by the way. That's not to suggest for a moment that you're not entirely original, which you are. And I had it on in the background, and one of the greatest compliments that I can give to a metal band is that I can focus on doing other things while still listening to the music and enjoying it. Because if you put on, I'll just pick on Deicide for a moment, if you put on Deicide in the background, who I do love, by the way, but you can't go about doing other things whilst you're listening to Deicide because it gets you involved too much.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
I think take that as a compliment because there's a lot of variation, a lot of contrast, a lot of light and shade through your music. And I think you guys have gone to a big effort to make that happen.
that it's interesting that you hear Dissection and Immortal in there. We like that music, but I never thought about that, you know. I never thought about them being an influence to us, but I can see, because we did for us at least, a pretty dark album, or darker than the albums before.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a similar atmosphere that you can get from black metal bands or bands like Dissection, maybe.
Yeah, maybe that's where it was. Yeah.
I think there is some kind of blackened atmosphere. Yeah, definitely. And I think this might lead to especially Dissection in a way. Also because of the guitar leads and all that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's exactly. You bang on point there. That's what I heard, because Dissection did have very good guitarists, and you guys obviously have great guitarists in the band as well. So I'm hearing very competent guitar playing, and I think that's where I could draw the comparison. It was in the quality of the guitar leads. So there you go.
Sorry?
Yeah.
There you go.
I thought this is a compliment towards Ole, so I was.
You were cutting off at the end, so I didn't really get what you said.
I was just saying that I think the quality of the guitar lead. So I'm a musician, I'm a bass player, and I also play guitar, but I'm primarily a bass guitarist. So I do listen to the musician's performance on the albums that I get a chance to listen to before I get to interview the artist fairly intently. And you guys have spent tens of hours crafting this album, haven't you?
Yeah.
There's a lot of effort that's gone into this one here. So, I mean, that's like I was saying before, I'm trying to give the listener a full, like an immersive experience, if you like, through the interview to understand what the music sounds like. So talking about the guitar sounds on the album then, Ole, did you... What were you actually going for? Were you going for something that was entirely original and unique, or did you have some reference points that you were taking as a starting point?
Do you mean the actual sounds we recorded? Or,
yeah, exactly. The sounds. Yeah, the sounds and the tones, yeah.
That's actually, well, we have a picture, or we know how we want the songs to sound like. And we know that Victor, who produced the album, shares that opinion with us. So that's the first step. That's why we went to record to the same studio again, like we did for the last album, because we knew Victor would understand the songs and how they should sound like, and that we would see the same once we hear it for the very first time. Mm-hmm. So we kind of have I think we have a pretty clear idea how the guitars or everything in the mix has to sound like. And but what we do in the studio is we record riff by riff, and we change the sound so that it fits perfectly for every single riff. So there's not this one rhythm sound, even though they are all pretty much the same. It's the same basis for the same foundation for the sounds. For the lead sound is this always the same starting point, so to speak, and for the sound it's always the same foundation. But we go through every song and riff by riff and adjust the sound so that we think that's perfect for this riff, and that's how it works best.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, that's there's a lot of very labor-intensive process, I assume.
Yeah, and that's not only with the sounds, like with the amp and the equalizers and everything and gain. It's also the effects that we work out quite detailed.
Yes.
So for every single lead guitar, not all of them have different effects, but if we have the feeling it could be another effect on there, then there is another effect. It's just not this one lead sound that we use for everything.
Yeah. Are you using Kemper amps, or what sort of amps are you using?
We are using Kemper amps, but only live, because it works. It's just handy. It works perfectly in a live setup. And I think for me, I compared it with actual tube amps. and I didn't hear any difference between the profile and the original chain. But I know there must be something missing, and that's probably on a how do you say that in English?
Yeah, right. The signal.
Psycho audible level.
Okay,
Does
gotcha.
that
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes complete sense. Yep.
Yeah. So I think that's not important in the live setup. So the signal goes through the PA and everything. That will never hear a difference between a real amp and a Kemper in a live setup.
Yes.
But in the studio, where you are really carefully working on the sounds and everything, then we prefer to work with actual tube amps. And I think we used the Kemper for one clean sound and for this ambient sound that we sometimes use, this kind of pad sound that sounds a bit like a synthesizer.
Okay, cool.
That came from a Kemper. But apart from that, it's all tube amps.
Okay, and the other thing that I noticed is that I could actually hear the bass guitar, which is a thrill for me being a bass guitarist. So you've put a lot of effort into making the bass guitar audible too, and you've got a very good tone there. So can you describe the bass guitar sound? Like what gear you were using to pull that sound?
That was Ampeg SVT7 Pro Sansamp before the input. Before the input.
Yeah, I use a Sansamp as well. I thought I could hear that. Yeah, I use a Gallien-Kruger setup with a Sansamp. It's just very reliable, isn't it?
It is reliable, and it really... I mean, the Ampeg sounds cool, but it's missing some kind of bite.
Yes.
It doesn't have this nice distortion that you can get with the Sansamp.
Mm-hmm.
So that's but that's actually also our live setup for the bass.
Yeah, well, that'd be awesome. I mean, in the video for Black Frost, you can really hear that awesome tone. When you put the headphones on, you can really just dive into that bass tone. It's quite good. It's a very good sound.
Yeah, and it's important because we don't see the bass as what a lot of bands do, just to make the sound bassier. It's just the bass is playing its own melody lines and sometimes adds notes to the harmonies that are missing. I mean, the overall harmony of the song or that riff, because the one guitar is playing the lead, and the other guitar is playing a certain chord, but can add this one tone that's still missing to add this certain tone that we want to have, or this harmony, and then the bass adds that. The bass is not always following the exact notes that the guitars are playing. That's what I mean. That's why you have to hear it,
Oh, look, you get so sick of listening to metal albums where the bass is doing virtually nothing. Sometimes for half of I won't go on record, but I say about half of the albums that I've ever heard in my life from heavy metal bands, the bass is inaudible, and it's just there a bit like on And Justice for All by Metallica. It's just there to fill out like the sonic low end, not the audible note low end.
Yeah, that's what we always thought, and that's, I mean, we do have this instrument, so why not use it in a proper way?
Yeah, well, you guys can certainly play, so why not? And it's another... The fact that you think so much about the music alludes to another point, okay, which is this. The band's been going for a while, so I understand you've got 4 or 5 albums out already, including this release here for Nuclear Blast, or soon to be released for Nuclear Blast. And apart from Raimund, obviously the singer on the call here, the lineup is virtually intact since you first started, which is pretty rare, let's face it, with bands that have been going since you've been going for about 13 years now or so. So how have you kept the show on the road as an independent band with what I imagine has been hardly any financial support from labels and management?
Well, it's correct. We didn't have much financial support in the past. So I don't know. We just we always said other people are spending a lot of money for their hobbies, so why can't we do it for for our hobby, which is our band?
Makes
I think.
sense.
But yeah, we spent a lot of money there and lost a lot of money, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was always too important to not do it, and yeah. So actually, in the beginning, we did things like Volker and I worked on a shrimp boat for 2 weeks when we had
Cool.
holidays.
Yep.
And just to earn money to build our own rehearsal room, and that's how we always did it. Things like that. Just earn some money, put it into the band. That was the time when we were still at school or studying. Then we did some jobs to finance the band in a way. Yeah, but then at a certain point it starts. But that only started a couple of years ago. That you earn a little money by playing shows. That helps to refinance the money you have to invest with the band. So yeah. But before that, put our own money in there.
Yeah, I don't. Music is not a. It might be a music business, but you can't approach it as a business, can you? Because if you did, you'd stop doing it within the first month of playing or performing or touring or what have you, because you don't start making a return. If you don't mind me saying, in your case, it's been probably 10 plus years or so, but you do get a lot of emotional return. It's just not a financial thing, is it?
Exactly, and that's the main reason why we do that, And of course, you get into this business side at a certain point, and it's really helpful because if you can get money from that, well, that is a good thing, obviously, but it's not the reason why you should do it.
Yep, agreed. That's for sure. And what about the signing to Nuclear Blast? How did you guys get their attention?
We were assigned to Apostasy Records for Opaque and King Delusion. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we thought after King Delusion something was happening. We played this tour with Dark Tranquility in 2017, and we thought it would be cool to make, let's say, the next step for the band. And the founder of Apostasy Records, the owner, asked us if it would be cool for us if he would become our manager. So he's still part of the Nail to Obscurity world, so to speak. But if we were cool with the idea of him searching for a larger label, and we were like, yeah, definitely that's what we had in mind, because we also thought it would be cool to make this step, and he actually came up with Nuclear Blast being interested in signing us. Mm-hmm. And this was like, is this real? Are you really talking about this label, Nuclear Blast, or is there another label that we don't know about? Yeah, but it was actually real, and so we were looking at the contract and thought it was very, very fair towards us, and so we said to each other, we have to make this happen. We have to sign this deal, because this is the new playground for us. This is something that allows us to do the next step in our evolution as a band. And so we signed the contract, and then we partied about it a little bit within the band. Just us five. Drinking a little bit too much and just trying to realize what just happened, but actually realizing that this is real, that we are now a Nuclear Blast band is happening right now, because we now were able to put the first video single Black Frost out on their channels and having their support, and now being able to talk to interviewers from Australia and New Zealand for the very first time. This is something completely new, and now we realize, okay, this is definitely something that we wanted, that we thought that we could do, and it's happening now.
Well, congratulations on it, and I'm so glad to hear the enthusiasm, really, because it is one of those once in a lifetime things, really, isn't it? For it's such a great label, Nuclear Blast, with such a great history, and you never hear bands, whether they're on the roster or whether they've left the roster, talk shit about Nuclear Blast. Or at least I've done a lot of reading and a lot of listening to podcasts, but there are a lot of labels out there where bands don't feel they get a fair go, but not with Nuclear Blast. And I like the way, too, I can't remember the guy who owns Nuclear Blast, so I can't remember his name, but I was talking to the lass from Pristine, which is a Norwegian band, about a year and a half ago or so. Yeah, really good band. And she was talking about how she got signed in the process, and it just seemed so... It seemed like a process that was very natural, but at the same time, it seems like a natural process because the owner of the label really appreciates wonderful musicianship and great music. And that's what it comes down to. And you can always say that about Nuclear Blast bands.
And we can actually add that you can say this about all the people that are working there. We
passionate.
Sorry?
They are really passionate.
Passionate,
Actually, I think the time is over, but I think we can do another 3 minutes. There's someone else waiting right now. So,
are they? Oh, okay, that's just last question, just quickly. So, have you had a lot of feedback from Australian fans over the years?
I think it was via our social media, via Facebook, but I can't remember, let's say, fan reaction from Australia right now. I think we reached out to people in Australia through that, but I actually, to be very honest, I don't know right now. I also don't know about reviews from Australian fanzines towards King Delusion. Or do you remember something?
I think we haven't done anything in Australia. We haven't played there. We didn't do interviews, even though we would like. Would like to do the interviews for the last, or doing interviews for the last album as well, but there didn't seem to be interest, and which is okay. I mean, Australia is pretty far away, so I think we had a couple of CD orders from Australia, but not many, maybe 3 or so over the years. So just the band never happened. It's in Australia, I think. So that's starting now, and it's my theory, which I got from the interviews from yesterday, that it has to do with our first ever live appearance in the UK, because we played Bloodstock on the main stage.
Okay.
And it seems to be that the Australian fans, are more connected to the UK scene, which makes sense to me. Than to the rest of Europe, in a way, if you know what I mean.
No, you're spot on. You've hit the nail on the head there. Yeah, we do tend to be. We're very, very much influenced by what happens in the UK and the US.
And I think, like half a year ago, when we signed to Nuclear Blast, we realized that there's an interest growing in the UK, because also there we haven't played there before. Our show at Bloodstock. And there was not that much interest. There were some orders and some comments on social media and everything, but not that we had the feeling that there's something happening now. And now we have the feeling, especially after the Bloodstock show, that the UK seems to be really interested in the band, even though we haven't done much in the UK. And now Australia is following. So that's my feeling.
Nice. All right. Well, I'll do my bit here. I think it's a wonderful album. So I'm so busy these days. I want to do a review on the album, and of course it'll be favourable. But if I can get to do a review, guys, I'll send it to you on your socials, your Facebook post socials, and share it away or what have you. But I'll do my bit here. You know, we'll release the podcast episode, and the irony for me though, guys. So I know you've got to go just quickly. Is most of my listenership's in North America. So I don't know how that's happened, but I'll take it. About a third of my audience is in Australia, and about a bit over, or I don't know, about half of my audience tends to come from the States. Okay. So hopefully we'll give you a bit of a profile over there as well.
Okay.
Very cool. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, lads. All the best, and congratulations on the excellent album again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your kind words.
No worries. Thanks, guys. Catch ya.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Take care.
You have been listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series and syndicating for the A-List Online. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith, and that conversation featured two of the members of German outfit Nailed to Obscurity. Thank you very much for listening.